So earlier on I mentioned that firewalls and IPS are typically IP traffic and are typically infrastructure security, network security. They do not guard against web application security attacks, web application attacks. So how do you guard against web application attacks? Because I've also mentioned that there is no defense against a web application attack. The best way, effectively the only way, is for you to have a properly written application. So go down to the bottom line, go down to the root cause. Why do you have application security issues? Because you have vulnerabilities in your applications that hackers can try to find and try to exploit. Why do you have vulnerabilities in your applications? Because the programs were not written properly. Now that's unfair. We're not saying the developers are no good, because developers cannot have perfect knowledge, neither can they have perfect diligence. It's impossible to manually QA the application yourself. Therefore, you need a professional tool. So the best and effectively only way to guard against application attack is by a process of quality assurance, to find the vulnerabilities in the application development, fix them so that by the time your application goes into production and hackers attack your site, it's harder for them to find the vulnerabilities so they cannot come in. Let me explain something else. When hackers attack your web application, it's not your web application they want. They don't care about, but they're trying to find ways to poke through your application that will give them a way into your infrastructure to steal your database, which is exactly what they want. And the reason we have this problem today typically is that because security we have today are typically from the infrastructure and network side, security professionals are typically from the network and infrastructure side. System administration, network administrators, who typically have little or no experience in application development. Developers typically don't know and don't care about security. So you have a big gap. But unfortunately, the hacker is the one person that knows both infra and application. And the hacker doesn't work for you. So we actually tell people, you better QA your application before the hacker QAs it for you. I think 5 or 10 years ago, it's quite easy to make the statement that security is not very important for many organizations in Asia. And there are two reasons why people say this. Number one, budget. Because security is seen as a cost. Security is seen as a pain. It's a troublemaker. I need to spend money on this. So some people don't like that, especially Asians. The other reason is because of ignorance. They don't understand. And that is what the biggest obstacle to security vendors having more sales is not budget, but it's ignorance. Because people don't understand that they need to spend money on this because they don't understand the solution that it's supposed to provide, and they ask for silly things like ROI. How do you ROI a security solution? So they will not buy the security solution, or they'll have lip service. They'll buy the minimum and they'll buy the cheapest firewall, but they have money to go karaoke, they have money to buy Ferraris. So it's not about budget, believe me. But over time, when people realize that their electronic intellectual assets are important, that their applications and services, and they do business over the internet, and it's important to guard against this. And also security is an important PR issue, PR and marketing issue. People want to know that you're secure. If your bank is not satisfied to be secure, nobody wants to do business with you. So for PR reasons and other reasons of virtue and integrity, many organizations in Asia have come to appreciate the need for security. Of course, there's this other big driver called governance and compliance. So that's another big driver. So today, it's not so accurate to say that many organizations in Asia don't place a priority on security, although there's some levels of truth. And you'll fine-grain it further. The more advanced locations, for example, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, a bit of Australia, you can be sure that the security in the IT infrastructures are a priority, are very important. And then for the other countries, like they're just emerging, even China, India, Malaysia, Philippines, people may take a bit longer to think about this is what they want. In the 97 financial crisis, I was asked a similar question, and the general picture remains the same. Although we have basically the worst financial crisis we've ever seen, the internet and internet services hasn't shut down. In fact, it continues to proliferate, number one. Number two, because of cost cutting, because of bad times and people have to tighten their belts and cut resources, you travel less, you have less meetings, you have less physical activities. The net comes in, steps up to the plate to provide the medium for communication, for transactions. So web services and web-based business become more important. And it follows through that with the current education and the current awareness that's happening, web application security will, in line, become more important.